Today we're looking at a really unique ADU. We think it's maybe one of the biggest that Hamilton's had yet, and we're calling it a multi-generational ADU.
We call it multi-generational as it's bringing the whole family together. Still has the investment lens, but just want to kind of give you the profile a little bit. It's kind of the grandparents and then the kids and then the grandkids, creating a second suite for them. And as you take a staircase upstairs to the self-contained accessory dwelling unit, that unit alone, just that top floor, is about 850 square feet.
Like, this was just a bungalow, and now here we are. We've used all this, basically what was an unused space or a bad garage, and we've turned it into a beautiful garage that 2 units can use, and then we've got a brand new unit upstairs. What does something like this roughly cost? Like, it sounds like we took an existing structure, we had a little bit of demo getting rid of a garage. We've obviously built a large structure onto this. What are we looking at roughly for this kind of cost and for timelines? Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Adam J.D. Martin, your host, and we're back here in Hamilton at another additional dwelling unit property with 555 construction. I've got Yasser here. Today we're looking at a really unique ADU. We think it's maybe one of the biggest that Hamilton's had yet, and we're calling it a multi-generational ADU, and it looks badass. Yasser, what's going on here?
Yeah, so you guys have done a couple episodes with us. We say ADUs or SDUs, whatever you want to call them. They come in all shapes and sizes. Some are retrofits, meaning there's a garage there and we're retrofitting it into an ADU. Some we smack down and build up. Some there's nothing there and just green space. And some we attach back to the existing structure, so it's like an addition ADU. So like I said, they come in all shapes and sizes, but this one's the big one. We call it multi-generational as it's bringing the whole family together. Still has the investment lens, but just want to kind of give you the profile a little bit. It's kind of the grandparents and then the kids and then the grandkids, creating a second suite for them. They've kept the parking, which is really unique and always an added value that we talk about. And as you take a staircase upstairs to the self-contained accessory dwelling unit, that unit alone, just that top floor, is about 850 square feet. It's got its own 2 bedrooms, same thing that we always talk about. We chase for that laundry unit to be in there. We chase for that dishwasher to be in there. Fully self-contained unit. Check it out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm thinking multi-generational, I'm thinking house hack, I'm thinking a bunch of different things as we enter this building, and I haven't seen it yet, so I'm really hoping, Yasser, you can take us through the building. We can look at the structure, look at the design choices, and see what this unit feels like as you attached it back to the original structure. And I know on previous videos we've been discussing, are these properties we're going out and we're seeking in neighborhoods? Are these properties we're converting from our existing portfolio? Where are we finding the inventory to be able to add these additional units? And so I think this one's really unique and really special in that it could have been any house, right? This was just a large bungalow. So let's go check it out. All right, Yasser, so we just walked through what feels like really large openings, right? They look like garage doors. It looks like this is where maybe an old garage was or an old shed was for this existing property. What am I looking at now? Because you said welcome to the bunker when we got in here. This feels solid in here, guys. This is new construction, super solid. I mean, everything in here is brand new. You can see there's not even tape on any of this drywall yet. This is new.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's a big new shell, and that's what we have here. We've passed all of our inspection points as far as the rough inspections go, so we can get to the drywalling and the finishing stages. But what was here before was a detached garage, and we talked about this in previous episodes using that eye test. Obviously, it's not our end-all be-all, it's just a starting point. We use our planning partners, our engineers, to determine what's structurally sound versus what's not. But the eye test is a great starting point. If it looks like it's going to fall over or I'm able to push it over, probably not going to work. And that's what happened here, where we've gone with, instead of salvaging or reinforcing the current structures on site, going net new, we just went real grand based on the requirements from our clients. So they've done an addition ADU, I like to call it, so it ties back into the existing dwelling, so we'll call that unit 1 via this breezeway here, right? It's kind of acting like a mud room, and then unit 2 is above us. So they'll each get a parking spot one will go that way, and one will go this way via that access as you see there, and they'll go up the stairs here. So it's a big footprint. It's about 850 square foot footprint. That's why I like to call it the bunker. And then once you get upstairs, we have our entire living quarters there.
Okay, beautiful. So this is a shared space,
correct,
to be clear. So we got 2 parking spaces in here that connect through that mudroom there, and then our second unit is gonna just be up the stairs back through this door. So it's a really interesting layout and a really amazing use of space, right? Because we're building up now, right? We're taking advantage of all that airspace above us instead of just trying to build sideways or add additional units into an existing structure. So this is where I can already see how many opportunities we can see by just looking around. Like, this was just a bungalow, and now here we are. We've used all this, basically what was an unused space or a bad garage, and we've turned it into a beautiful garage that 2 units can use, and then we've got a brand new unit upstairs.
Yeah, the added value is tremendous, right? And that's why I can't stress or emphasize there's so many different ways you can create an ADU. Like, we've seen a few different products, right, through previous episodes, the retrofits, and even the size of them, the bachelor studios that we can still make feel bigger and have all the amenities. Then we go to other products that have basements, or maybe 1 story that has an engineered slab on a small foundation. But then you get these ones, right? So we go through all of our checks, the zoning, the bylaw, the building code, and we layer in our budget, working with our planning partners and our real estate agent partners and our mortgage team partners to kind of put the whole package of formula together. One thing we never really talked about is the client's needs, or the client's want, if it's within the budget. So that's the last layer here, and you can see this one's really unique compared to the rest, right? Like, parking was a non-negotiable, kind of a separate quarters was a non-negotiable, but also access between the 2 spaces was non-negotiable. So
yeah, that's fantastic. And right away, my mind starts just chasing down all these little things that would be important to the actual client or consumer here. And, you know, just thinking about basic things like financing, right? These older bungalows, you can make some assumptions about a lot of them. A lot of them are going to be owned for a long time. A lot of them will have had that appreciation over the last few years, helping them out. Would they go to refinance this and pull some equity out to take care of the funding for this? And there's all sorts of ways that you can work today with the city and with the city and with big banks now to be able to actually finance a project like this and, again, take your building to its highest and best use. So
yeah, and when these big banks, like we talked about Equitable in a couple of other videos, but in future state, I really think in 2025 you will see the 5-6 big banks get involved in this program one way or the other. I don't blame them for taking their time, because how can you assess another house on the lot? Because essentially that's what it is. This structure we built is bigger than the original structure. So it does need, take time to create that formula to kind of pursue that ARV or that back end refinance to kind of see of the true added value that we're creating here. So we're a little bit of early movers, as they would say in economics, but if our 1 foot is forward in time for 2025, when rules do get put in place, then we're already at the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, and again, working with a company like yours, you're stacking up that experience, right? And this is our 3rd structure type that we're showing on the channel. And it's just so clear to me that just the ingenuity and the creativity that goes into this is how we're gonna actually find profits in what other people are seeing as problems, right? So when I see now today, you guys in the comments telling me there's no inventory out there, I'm gonna say find a bungalow. Find a house, find any house, and talk to your power team about whether or not it's going to work for you. But the complaint that there's no inventory, there's no structure, there's no space to do this anymore, it's gone. The city's working with you, they're offering grants, the banks are starting to get on board in a big way, and here we are today standing in a live project. And I'd love to go upstairs now and let's just actually look at what's already been done in terms of new construction here.
Do it.
We just came up the stairs and I'm looking at a huge, big, wide open space again. And I'm really excited once again by the design, right? The design is so obviously a key feature to these ADUs. It's so bright up here. It's so airy. When this is finished, it's gonna look stunning. Like it's gonna look really, my first comment, I don't think we were recording yet, but it was, this feels great, right? This is gonna look amazing. So I'd love for you to just walk us through what the design is up here. What are the specs?
Yeah, I'll go through the spec sheet and then we talk about a little bit of the creativity that was put into it. We always talk about trying to get 2 bedrooms out of every single unit, because we think whether it's, this one's multi-generational, but if it was for investment purposes or rental income, the more bedrooms, the merrier. I think most leasing agents would be able to tell you that in the various municipalities. Then we have kind of our open kitchen, living space here, where we're gonna have a U-kitchen in that section, an island operating as our dining area, and this is kind of our playground as far as TV and entertainment. And then we got a nice big old bathroom there with the laundry built in, because we're always talking about certain amenities that add value, right? We're definitely gonna have a dishwasher there, right? We have the island here, and then we definitely have the laundry as well. And then to talk about the creativity a little bit more, not that this place needed a little bit of vaulted ceilings because it's already such a big footprint from a square footage standpoint. It's just another added value, right? Making it feel bigger. It's a lot of space. They can utilize it in so many different ways. We were able to put this island in here without having the ceilings kind of closed off. So all the different planning partners that were used, different architectural firms, engineering firms, we always like to work with them on the design space to catch the construction side of it. We talked about this being added on to the existing home as an addition. So kind of there's fire separation requirements, all of the boring building code specifications that we have to look out for. But when you plan ahead and you know that you can build units at this size, even if the bylaws restrict you or the parameters are there, the planning team should be savvy enough to kind of go and ask for forgiveness from the municipalities to achieve what we're going after.
Yeah, and honestly, like you said, this was not required, but it's such a beautiful thought to have this be vaulted. And again, we're always thinking about the end user, whether you're an investor or you're looking to do this at a home that you already own. I mean, you really want to think about who's going to look at this space and want to live in it, right? And from an investor perspective, it makes sense to add a little touch like that to make this space feel great, because we're looking for those A+ tenants, and that's kind of what we want these days. And this just nails it, man. The way the light comes in here, the vaulting is going to be so nice for the living room and for that island, like you mentioned. And it's just, this space is so functional. Like, you haven't lost anything, and you've again made an 800 square foot space feel massive. Like, it feels huge in here. And of course we have to get finishes in here, and that'll tighten things up a little bit, but man, what a thoughtful design. And I think about stuff like this too, the vaulting, just to stick on that for a second, but that's stuff that we're going in old buildings and old units and trying to do retroactively, and it's a giant pain in the ass, but it's such a value add to get the height, to get the brightness in, that we want to do it. And so just to do it from the first place, how many times, if you're an investor watching this, how many times have you ripped open a wall and been like, why did they do it like this, right? So it's great to be able to design new spaces with that in mind, that nobody's going to look at this in 50 years and think, why'd they do it that way?
Exactly. Yeah, with new construction, we talked about in previous episodes, you have control, right? So if you can control the perfect approach or the perfect execution, you obviously should entertain it. To take it a step further for this space and how, it feels so grand, and we love the potential of it, we're trying to view this as the new form of house hacking, right? I feel like that term got used a lot over the last, maybe 4 to 5 years, and it was traditionally for basements, right? But maybe now you want to keep the space in your own property, but still want to house hack. Well, now this is a way or a new idea that we can still house hack, but with almost like a detached unit or a standalone unit or beside your house, right? So it doesn't feel as invasive as a basement. Not to say like basement SDUs or suites aren't great. This just gives you another option, another opportunity.
Yeah, and it feels great. I mean, it feels really amazing up here. It's, again, it's light, it's bright. I'd happily live here, right? Where I think I'm out of my basement days, I don't think I personally would want to live in a basement unit. But again, like, this just is another avenue where you could house hack. You could get into the market with something like this. Or again, with those of you with aging families, right? Canada's at that point where the demographics are shifting. This is a great way where you can set up your investment to be perfect for a family, or set your own home up to be perfect for your family. So this is fantastic.
Yeah, and I have my opinion on the family piece too, and I hope it's not too direct, but I'll speak freely in saying, you know, in Ontario, we're moving away from the white picket fence model. I think it's pretty clear through what the zoning amendments are doing through each municipality. It's more about density and lot intensification. Now, for grandparents, like anywhere between 70 to 90 years old, like families are always thinking, what's the next move? And it's usually some sort of retirement home, or kind of moving away from the family. And it's going to a retirement home to spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month
easily
to live in these long-term care facilities. Not to take anything away from them, they bring a lot of added value. But maybe this is a different option. Maybe this is keeping the family closer. You get a glorified babysitter there for you, and then life plays out. And then in the future, this could turn into a rental suite as well. So like, it's like a multi-purpose mindset. And then the best part of it all is it's added value to the property, because you've added so much structure and beautiful finishes to it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you've really increased the ARV of this property, right? There's multiple exit strategies. There's a bunch of different investment strategies available to you. And I love that it makes use of an otherwise, you know, relatively sought after building class in the bungalow, because that's really a highly competitive place to be playing. So if you already have one in your portfolio, or you have one in your family, maybe this is a way where you get to keep grandma and grandpa at home in that space they love, while you get to also satisfy your housing need, right? Because I'd happily live here and have my grandparents stay in the bungalow section, right? And you can improve that and go renovate that too, further improving the value of the building and its rentability in the future if that situation changes. So really cool application of an additional dwelling unit, man. This is not what I think about, right? When I think about ADU, you're right. I think about the basement suite, right? And in my mind, it's cluttered. In my mind, it's dark. In my mind, there's no parking. In my mind, there's all these little objections that we've seen over the past few videos are actually just complaints. They're not real objections. They're not real, right? This is not dark. This is not dingy. This is not cluttered, and there's parking, right? So it's like, you know, when it comes down to it, my remaining questions, which we shot a whole video on, is about the red tape, right? How do I get the permitting for this? How do I get the financing for this? What buildings or what lots can I do this on? And we answer that in a full-length video that you guys can go back and check out as part of this playlist on additional dwelling units. You know, what the answer was, if you want me to sum it up, was we worked with a great power team, right? 555's taking care of all of this to bring that idea into reality and really help you see the potential with an existing property. So I'm really happy to have a lot of my prior pre-existing beliefs just squashed on this.
Yeah, we're trying to get away from the stigma, the contractor stigma in the residential world, the what you can do with ADUs, because now that we're standing in a nice big bright one, it shows you the true max potential of what these products can do. But it's also the great benefit and the joy that we get from teaming up with Canada Real Estate Channels, because we wanted to show the various types. That was important to us, right? Garage retrofits are important, but then they get a stigma because of the word garage. And you'll see online the comments of, oh, you're gonna end up living in someone's garage. It's not. We've shown you in a previous video how much different than it looks like than a garage, but that's just one type. Then you can have other detached structures that look like small homes. Then you can have other detached structures that are bigger than the original home, depending on the scenario and the bylaw and the municipality, right? So many different ways that you can slice it. We just need to be very fortunate that in the last 3 years, the government bodies have given us the opportunity to do this. Like, think about it. History, what approach has the government ever signed off on that gave you an avenue to make some money? Yeah. Right? Like, it feels like we're always against them, or some sort of taxation comes into place, or whatever the case may be. This finally feels like where everyone's aligned, and it's only maybe 1 or 2% of the general public taking advantage of it, or at least educating themselves on it to know the true potential of it.
Yeah, so I mean, I encourage you to be part of the 1%, right? Because it looks like the regulatory bodies that have the actual power to make this happen are working with you finally. It looks like a lot of benefits coming from the financing side of things, whether that's through grants or the big banks finally starting to pick up on this type of financing. And then finally, the other biggest complaint as a landlord or as an investor in this market has been the regulation when it comes to tenants. these units are new units, right? And so we're talking about rent control, we're talking about potential. We're entering with these new units at the top market rent, and they're beautifully designed, so you're gonna get great tenants. Not subject to rent controls, right? Brand new inventory, and we're solving a need that ultimately the province hasn't been able to figure out a different way to do, right? Demand has largely outstripped supply for a long time, and this is one way for you guys to stay in the game as investors, adding massive value and really high quality units.
Yeah, I didn't even put the thought of the rent control in my head because it was so disconnected from me on this project. But you're right, for all the other projects, you're right, pull them right in, which is a beautiful thing. You're building safe housing on top of it. So we're not giving any party leverage for, you know, unsafe conditions. And then beyond that, the market will dictate kind of where you go. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and again, in controlling the design, right, we brought up fire separation, but what we didn't talk about is you can control too what that means for noise, right? You can control some of these other things that really maximize value from a user experience for the end user, whether that's you as the consumer or a tenant in the future, where you can have this be pretty soundproof and have two units side by side that don't feel like those, you know, stick brand new build houses that come up in 3 hours and you have no control over those things. So that's why I like the idea of working with the power team throughout the whole process, and we talked a lot about that in the planning video. But it's important to be able to plan these details out, right? What's important to you? In this space, it was multi-generational. They had very specific needs. Maybe you as an investor or you as a consumer have different needs, and the reality is you just need to work with somebody that has the experience in doing this so that those needs can become reality.
Yeah, we talked about that magic formula, right? Like the planning side of it with the zoning, the bylaw, the building code, and using the construction team that kind of puts this all together with your real estate agent and any other partners that are important, mortgage, etc. But it's all about needs too, right? When you layer on the budget and you got your formula together before you kind of bake your cake, now you throw in your needs, right? Obviously multi-generational will have it different than an investor, but you talked about some specs, and we don't dive too deep on construction because we don't want to bore you guys to death, but maybe I'll take an opportunity here to talk a little bit more construction. When you're doing these multi-units or getting into this multi-unit space, the end driver will be that building code, right? Even if you get that paperwork stamped, now it's up to you and the building inspector to make sure it's built properly and safely, right? So it's fire separation conversations, natural light, egress points, smoke alarms, any type of smoke detectors, any type of service room impacts. We talked about STC, which is sound transmission. All of these items, when you'll see planning teams kind of create the specification sheet, the Ontario Building Code is minimum requirements. It's minimum standards. So that's your baseline, right? If you have other needs or wants or desires, we can always build on that. So from a sound transition standpoint, we can create different wall assemblies to kind of work on that. Because if you're an investor and you have a multi-unit property, maybe that's not your top priority. But if you're a homeowner or multi-generational, you're doing the house hacking and there's an attached property, maybe sound is important to you. So we can use the minimum building assembly for walls, or we can enhance it with products like Sonopan that's available at big box stores, and we can keep working towards the end goal, right? So construction can get very specific and very detailed, but at least if we create the baseline standards in our planning and if it's our budget, then if we veer off to that premium world or selectives or electives, then at least we can do so knowing it's within the budget.
Awesome. So speaking of budgeting, what does something like this roughly cost? Like, it sounds like we took an existing structure, we had a little bit of demo getting rid of a garage. We've obviously built a large structure onto this. What are we looking at roughly for this kind of cost and for timelines?
Yeah, so we can definitely go into that. I'll use for a little bit of comparative analysis previous videos that we've done. We've talked about the retrofit into garage units that can range somewhere around $100,000 starting, right? You start getting this six-figure range for those projects. Then we were able to go see a net new garden suite. So one where we knocked the garage down and built a detached unit. That started in the $200,000 range, right? But as we get more into the bigger, the better, the brighter, obviously the cost goes up. This one is starting around $300,000. So it's like different tiered packages, yep, almost like a builder would provide, right? Depending on the budget and what your needs are, you can kind of shift within that scale. There's always an answer for somebody.
Yep.
Right? And this is the answer for these clients in that price range. The planning, it's still, if you were to kind of use our planning team or our planning partners, it still takes somewhere around 2 to 3 months. It doesn't shift so much. To bore you guys with some technical pieces, what could drive a true planning or permit application to the extreme lengths is what they call minor variance, which is you'll pull in for forgiveness, which this project did, right? You know you're asking for more than what the bylaw parameters allow you to do, so you're going to ask for forgiveness. Hey, guess what? Everyone wants housing. They usually say yes.
Yeah.
I won't say 100% because we'll protect ourselves, but with great confidence they say yes because they want to approve that building permit. They want to add housing units. It's going to drive kind of the supply that's out there and kind of solve the housing crisis that's happening. You're seeing tents everywhere. This is the complete opposite of it, right? So when you're getting that, you mentioned, you kind of like that pushback or the complaints, it's really not happening to the 1%. Right? They're finding a way to execute and getting the results done.
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, guys, we're standing in Hamilton today. I dare you right now, go to realtor.ca, find me a $300,000 house. And find me a $300,000 house that's gonna look like this when it's done. Because it's just not gonna happen. And that's the reality of where we're seeking out and finding and hunting value in the new market that we're living in, right? You're not just buying a $400,000 house or $700,000 house, sitting on it for a year, and now it's 900 grand. That's not where we're at. That's not what we're doing. Houses have been priced really high. That price is starting to fall as inventory is increasing. So the market's beginning to shift as some of those mortgage rates come down and things are changing in the broader like macroeconomic picture, but you still can't find a $300,000 house that's essentially a brand new house. Like that's what this is. Let's be realistic about it. It's a brand new garage downstairs and a brand new structure and house up here that's going to be finished with great finishes. You can't find that anywhere. So if you have an existing structure and you can refi it, or you can pull some cash from, whether it's equitable or other type of construction loans, this is a fantastic way where you can get a brand new unit for 300 grand that you can use either for multi-generational, you could use it for house hacking, or you could just use it straight up as a rental situation. It's great. It's really great.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like, you've heard the saying, the world is your oyster. Ontario is actually your oyster for small scale renovations, small scale conversions. We didn't, I stress it. We've never had this opportunity over the last 3 years. Now we have it, and not only have we had it, but the tailwind is almost done, right? Whenever there's policy implementation or new bylaws or new changes, it always takes time for us to absorb it as the professionals, and even the municipalities to absorb it. A lot of back and forth. It's almost like a negotiation when it's that early, right? But now the kind of that settling period has happened. It's out there, right? So this is the opportunity for clients to definitely take advantage of it, realtors to get up to speed, mortgage agents to get up to speed, everybody in the business, whether you're arm's length or not, to get up to speed in this, just because the value is something that we've never seen before.
Yeah. No, it's a fantastic point, Yasser. Well, thank you so much for showing us this totally different and unique type of ADU. And I'm excited to bring you guys more content like this. So we have a lot more videos planned. We've got more projects to show you, more info to bring you. And if you guys have more questions about this process or this investing strategy, please leave them down in the comments, because we're going to be answering those questions for you. And I want to make sure that we cover this topic so wholeheartedly that you can approach it honestly as an investor and understand what the plan is to go from making an offer to having occupancy on a brand new unit that could be right in your backyard. So we'll see you guys back here soon.